Mary Meet Annie here. Welcome back to Tarot Together and the series on the Magician's attributes. This one, on the way forward. It flows out of the things I've described so far that have to do with the wisdom of the Magician's card. His consciousness and awareness. His power to name and make so. His understanding of what flows through him, which creates that ability. His willingness to truly experience living, being teased and taunted by the trickster within and without. And the knowledge that he has come to this point with. This point, this stance that the Magician holds in the card, is that moment between what he comes knowing and what happens next. The way forward. The power of his card then becomes about action. After the naming becomes the doing. He's about to do, to make so, to live in accord with what he has imagined in the beautiful chaos of his mind and what he has given a name to. It's about continual creation in every moment. Always holding the potential of that. That birthing moment between naming and doing. In Spiritual Tarot, 78 Paths to Personal Development, Eccles, Mueller, and Thompson, authors. They refer to this moment as creative, focused attention. Creative and focused to wonderfully aligned powers of the element of air on the Magician's card. Creation. And then focus. Waite would have us consider this way forward is divine will expressed through our actions. Certainly, it is without a doubt. Our actions aligned to our better living of life. It's about taking the energy around us, focusing it. Taking the energy within us and focusing it. It's the understanding, and when we're the best magician that we can be without misusing the controlling of focus and energy, and indeed our very intimate, deepest power in the universe. It's about what makes us do, what gets us off of this moment and into the next moment. It's about embracing challenges with a positive attitude. The way forward comes out of constant changes and readjustment in life. The trickster. The power of the Magician is that word that he named. It's out there. It's the end result. He's given the name to his potentiality, to what he knows will be. The in-between of how to make it happen, he's about to step into. But the power of getting through that making manifest is never forgetting the word that he gave is living. It's about being grounded, his stance, standing so firmly in the center of his card. His arms give the sense of the energy directed from below to above, from above to below. He stands firm within that. It's the place he can always return to. This way forward's the power of putting his ideas into action, into reality. Taking the initiative to do that. Everything can die in the naming. Either because it's not named, or we forget the name we've given something. It's a power of being in control of what happens in our lives. Obviously balanced by the power of the trickster that That's an illusion we have no power over in the end. That's when the way forward for the magician becomes that firm stance, and the understanding that there is a greater purpose behind the length, the width, the depth of his life. It's so much about this moment and not about this moment within the world of the magician. I love some place that I read, again I wished I'd written down where, but I've had this in my notes for a long time. The way forward for the magician is about resolve. It's not yet about perseverance, the keeping at something, keeping it something, keeping it something. It's about the resolution to take that step forward out of the naming. This author wrote, it's more about the emotional experience of living, excitement at being involved in living, enthusiasm and love of activity. It's a tangible start, first steps towards realizing something. Importantly, the way forward for the magician is that step forward. It's an act of self-realization. He's not doing it to please another, to live up to another expectation. He's doing it truly to follow an instinctual calling, to connect to a greater meaning in the moments of his living. Oh, that's going to take him into connections with others and the lessons they will teach him. But in this moment, it's an understanding of beginning and beginning again. The way forward, the wisdom of the magician's card. Reversals are interesting, of course, always when we look at the cards. Whether actions are not appropriate to the current situation, whether we are experiencing too much of the influence of the energy of a card, or whether we are acting at a lower energy level of the card. We could consider this series of circumstances to be reversals. If the magician, and it's wonderful to consider because we are then permitting ourselves to consider that he and we, at any moment in our life, when we name something and begin to make our way forward, have set out on a quest to live our life fully, a quest to suck all the wisdom out of our life, a quest to be connected to some sense of higher purpose, to divine will, a sense at the simplest level to be purely present in each moment of our life. If the naming and the doing caught in this instant on the magician's card represents that quest, the setting out on a quest, one time or a million times in life, with inappropriate energy aligned to that, we think everything is about the quest. We might want others to be aware of the big quest we're always on and the import of our lives. That's when we experience again the showman that is part of the magician's presentation. If we think, I have thought, I have named, and I have decided a way forward, and then we can't deal with things that change within those circumstances because we declared it was so, and then it's not. We've experienced a challenge within the wisdom of the Fool's card. But when things do change, part of the challenges within living the magician's life, in that moment we question the word we gave something and the action we chose to take. The confusion or the inappropriate actions that are a response to that can come from two extremes. Buckling it and fighting it because we declared it was going to be so, and therefore it's going to stay that way no matter what life presents us. Or the other is, we lost our connection to the naming, why something was important, and why we might want to hang on to that. The motive behind what we did sometimes carries us through changes. Spit back in the face of the changes, more or less. We can give in too easily to changes, or we can hang on too much to the word we named and the action we took if we don't get back to the intent, the source of our inspiration, the reason why we named life something at that moment in time. We can get lost in the magician's world if the idea that everything, every moment in our life is a moment of creation and a way forward. And it just seems like there's so many possibilities that inherent in any moment of creation in our life. It's a blessing. It can feel, as well, a curse, a sense of being overwhelmed, that every decision we make in our life shifts us in direction in our life. If we back off in the face of challenges that come at us, when we thought we knew a way forward and then the way seems to challenge us, we can go into a kind of limbo, a lack of focus, which actually represents a lack of energy, a lack of connection to our source, our internal source, or a greater external source. If the magician is very in tune with his personal power, after all, he is existing solo within the universe at this point, can he also then lose confidence in that when life doesn't go as he planned? Does he become so insular, so firmly planted in the middle of his card, in the middle of his life, that he forgets that what he came knowing, the knowledge and wisdom hard gained through his initiation, has to do with what rose internally within him and what surrounded him? Has he forgotten? Is he holding his arms so rigidly in that posture of as above and so below that he forgot that that is a conduit of constant energy moving above to below and below to above through his body? Has he forgotten that creation is an ever-changing, constant recreation of his universe? I appreciate your thoughts on the moment in time, on the magician's card, which is what he came knowing, suddenly in that instant becoming the way forward, and what he teaches us of that. Your comments below and on our Facebook group are welcome. And there will be one more video in this series on the attributes to the magician card. Mary Part.